What is up, denizens of the interwebs? It's attrocious here, coming at you another video, and this time we're talking about the saddest gaming disaster of 2024. Launching recently as the newest Bandai Namco game, Unknown Awakening 9 has come to an absolute thud, with absolutely zero praise from anyone. Not even the modern audience shills are coming out to bat for this game. When IGN is giving a woke game a 5 out of 10, it just shows you that their grift is dying, and this is the kind of game that can't even be defended. And it's absolutely sad to see. This game has so little interest that with my wallpaper app gimmick, I couldn't even find an animated wallpaper for this game, and I'm not wasting the time to make one. So we have a couple articles from smashJT that I'm going to go over, so like, subscribe, and let's hop into this. The first one is from 5 days ago regarding the absolute sad state of sales that Unknown Awakening 9 has had since its launch. It is absolutely depressing and hilarious to see. Particularly when you consider the fact that this game was being advertised all over the place. I couldn't go 10 minutes without seeing some kind of advertisement for it. It was really annoying because the game, it looked a little interesting at first glance, but once you actually got to see the mechanics, it was clear that this game is nothing more than a waste of space on your hard drive. So reportedly, smashJT received an email from an anonymous GameStop employee who claims to have worked at GameStop at a corporate level, claiming that he has data on 2,900 stores, and smashJT's video inspired him to check Unknown 9 sales. And while there was movement of 2,000 initial copies, which were store distributions, basically 2,000 physical encodes that were sent directly to GameStop stores or warehouses, I saw maybe 50 other copies with movement, which were pre-orders, but nothing else. We had around 350 copies of Unknown 9 for PlayStation 5 available for shipping, but the demand was zero, meaning none sold. On Xbox, we had about 150 copies and zero demand. So between both platforms at that time of my first email, we sold 0 copies. Obviously, like I said, this is a 5-day-old article, so for all we know, it could have possibly changed, but I'm highly doubtful of that. And of course, the leaker requested to remain anonymous because if his identity was leaked, it could at the very least cost him his job, if not a lot worse, because this could be described as a whole lot of violations of work codes. And as smashJT goes on to elaborate, for people who might not be aware, typically the majority of game sales occur during the launch window. Pre-orders make up a significant portion of those sales. Once a game is out, the momentum from in-store displays, customer reviews, and word of mouth should help drive additional sales. But when your game gets no word of mouth or no positive word of mouth, you're not going to get any additional sales from that, especially not at a $50 price point. And of course, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that e-commerce isn't the biggest factor. Physical sales are not the end of it. There's a whole lot more sales that go on online between Steam and other purchasing sites like that. But of course, thankfully, we get to have a picture of just how well Unknown Awakening 9 is doing on Steam. When smashJT made this article, it was at 121 concurrent, 147 peak, and 285 all time. And looking at it right now, it got worse. Its concurrent and 24-hour peaks have dropped, and its all-time peak has not moved at all. This game is still doing just as bad as this game is doing worse than when it launched, which is absolutely hilarious. Now, it would be one thing if the sales numbers was the only thing wrong with this game, but it looks like not even the people behind the scenes seem to know anything about it, with the lead actress coming out and making a fool of herself on a long-form podcast that's broken up to many shorts, where she accidentally admits to being a DEI hire. The actor, Anya Chalotra, sorry if I mispronounced that, is a British and Indian actress who personally I quite like as an actress. I did like her as Yennefer, even though she looks nothing like Yennefer. Yennefer is supposed to be a smoking hot, raven-haired woman. No offense to Anya, but that's not you. But I'm not saying not saying you're not attractive, but you're not Yennefer. But from an acting perspective, I actually really liked her performance, especially the stuff before the transformation. I thought she did a really good job in the show. So I was actually kind of excited when I heard that she was going to be starring in this game when I had first heard about this game, before I realized what a dumpster fire would be. However, in a series of shorts posted on the CG Monthly YouTube channel, Chalotra gave a cringy and honestly extremely boring interview that unintentionally exposed the ultimate hollow nature of involvement in the game. Which just goes to show that she was chosen for diversity reasons and not for talent or merit-based reasons. Given the fact that she claims that I didn't audition, I was offered the opportunity and I jumped at it. So she didn't audition, she didn't have to work for it, she didn't have to try. She was legitimately called up and be like, hey, we want you to star in our DEI-infested game and you're the right race, so come on and just do the game. So she did, because it's a paycheck and a paycheck is a paycheck. smashJT also mentions the fact that she's undeniably a beautiful woman, and the reason why he mentions that is not because smashJT is a gooner, I wouldn't put it past him, it's not because he's got a fap to games, or anything like that, because remember, smashJT is actually married. It's all because of the fact that in the game, she is butt ugly. They completely butchered her face. If I was her, I would legitimately be suing for the sheer disrespect they did to her character's face. It is absolutely shameful. And then this all gets even worse when she's asked by the interviewer whether or not she actually plays video games. So let's give a listen to that response.
Yeah, I play. I've played, when I was a kid, I played The Witcher. When I got the part, and that was my first introduction really into how big this world was.
Wait, so based on this article, did she play games as a child, or did she first play games when she got the role of The Witcher, and did she actually play The Witcher? I'm going to be completely honest, she doesn't have to play games. I'm completely fine if she isn't a gamer. She doesn't have to be. She's a voice actress, or just an actress in general. Voice actresses don't have to play the games they're playing, or they're starring in. They don't have to play games at all. All they have to do is care about the role of acting. They have to care about acting well. That's it. That's all I care about. Problem is, she lied about it. That's what I have an issue with. I have an issue with when an actress or an actor, whatever, lies about their love of something. Like when Lesbian Headlamp lied about being a huge Star Wars fan, when asked what her favorite Star Wars was, her answer was all of the Star Wars. That's a problem. When you say you played video games as a child and then say that The Witcher was your first video game when you were cast as the role, that's a problem. I have no issue if you don't play video games or if The Witcher was your first game, but don't be stuttering like you were caught off guard, and don't lie to us. That's the bigger insult. Now, smashJT paints this as an actual problem, as if when studios fill crucial roles in their projects with people who are not hired for their skill, passion, or understanding of the material, the result is, well, subpar content. Gaming as an art form thrives on talented individuals who understand and care about the medium. When those roles are handed out as tokens to check boxes, the quality of games inevitably suffers. And I do agree with that last part. You can't hire based on check marks. If she was asked to audition for the role because the people at Bandai Namco or Kim Belair just really liked her, that would be one thing. But the fact that she didn't audition at all for the role and just handed to it is a massive problem. But if she was just asked to audition because that's who they had in mind and she did well on the audition, then I would have no issue with her as a non-gamer playing a video game character. It's just the lies that are a problem. And then, of course, we got a little bit more information as someone went through and they actually listened to some of the background dialogue in the game, proving that she's not the only one who was chosen simply for her diversity, as the Unknown Awakening 9 NPC dialogue accidentally exposes the Sweet Baby Inc.'s grift. And as smashJT tells it, putting the con in consultancy. As we all know, Sweet Baby Inc. was created in the promise of creating a culturally sensitive narratives, and advertising themselves as a consultancy agency for game developers to ensure accurate and respectful depictions of diverse cultures. However, her work inside of Unknown Awakening 9 perfectly proves the fact that she's lying through her teeth about actually caring about those values. And the fact that they're more interested in the idea of diversity when it's done for them, for instance, characters who look identical to Kim Belair. So they're not actually interested in diversity, they're interested in self-insertion. Which I could have told you, but I'm glad we have actual proof of this, because when they have to deal with a culture that isn't hers or has anything to do with her, it comes out egregiously bad and shows the sheer lack of knowledge that these people have. And it shows it just as a cheap facade to sell their expertise professionally. Now, of course, smashJT calls it a cheap facade, but I'm pretty sure they charge an arm and a leg, and since we had seen the numbers that they were trying to charge Black Myth Wukong of $1 million just to work on the game. According to smashJT, he first discovered this while watching the stream of New Black Street covering the story, so shout out to those people. And it looks like they have Atreus, who's on Saturday Night Hypnosis, so shout out to Atreus. I'm shocked he's doing a live stream instead of getting laid. And here's a bit of a translation of some of the background dialogue. Fried rice and chili chicken in a market that doesn't show any restaurants or any food stalls. That's not food. And doesn't even fit for the time period. And as smashJT writes, I assume they had expected a nuanced, respectful portrayal of the Bengal region in 1912. Instead, players were given a lazy, slapped-on attempt that's offensive in its sheer lack of effort. The region feels like a ridiculous caricature rather than a real, authentic cultural representation. It's filled with inaccurate, laughable NPC dialogue, showing a complete disregard for the nuance of the region. Kim Belair is credited as story architect, and she oversaw these narrative choices. Shocker to absolutely no one, it looks bad, it is bad. Kim Belair isn't a cultural expert, she is an expert in forcing cultural Marxism down people's throats, and using her identity as a way to strong-arm companies into giving her what she wants, which she has a direct quote about, where she says, if you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultancy, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility if they don't give you what you want. It is a grift hell-bent on terror and strong-arming to get exactly what you want. And what you want isn't representation or diversity, it is self-insertion and narcissistic representation. The analysis of the dialogue choices for NPCs shows everyone just how poorly reassertion and shallowly executed this game was by Kim Belair and the people over at Sweet Baby Inc. Where people in the Bengal market are just standing around making random contextless phrases that were clearly ripped randomly off the internet. Now, I'm going to be honest, that as a standalone, I don't necessarily have an issue with. There are some games that I played, though I can't think of any off the top of my head. I believe Bard's Tale 2004 did this, where when needing background noise, they literally went to a background restaurant and just hit record. I have no issue with you doing that as a way to make it feel more authentic, but when it's being done so loudly to the point where someone can actually translate what's being said, that's concerning. Background noise should sound like background noise, especially in a situation like this, where there are people who will be playing this game that speak both languages, and if you have someone like that who can actually pick up what's being said, you're going to leave them absolutely perplexed. It's no different than that scene from Scary Movie where they had the world's greatest Japanese ever being written. It's literally the same type of dialogue, even down to the discussion, the actual words being used to discuss it.
Haro? Hibachi Benihana Teriyaki. Nagasaki, Okinawa, Hokkaido.
Actually, I take it back. That might be better dialogue. And according to Private Prime, one instance that highlights the absurdity of the conversations where NPCs in 1912 Bengal are shown speaking in Bangladeshi Bengali, a dialect geographically, culturally, and historically different from the region and the time setting. In fact, I heavily recommend watching that video from Private Prime because it is absolutely hilarious and it shows literally everything wrong in the game in under 5 minutes. And the dialogue being done, not only are they describing restaurant orders, but there's a scene where a person is talking to the person and it's just a clip of a Indian algebra teacher teaching a student math. And why is that in the game? Now, let me be very clear about something. I don't actually have an issue with this dialogue being in the game by itself. In a vacuum, I have no problem with someone using a shorthand tactic like this to ensure the dialogue feels as alive as possible. I have no problem with that. The problem is, the reason why it's so bad is because they hired Kim Belair. That's the issue. The fact that you hired a cultural expert, someone whose sole job is to make sure the game is as culturally proper as possible, and that's what they produce. That's my problem with this. It has nothing to do with the fact that they took random bits of the language and put it into here from random places such as coffee shops or even classes. That's not nearly as good as it could be. The big problem with this all is the fact that they had someone who was paid to make this as culturally accurate as possible, and that's what they came up with. How is this culturally sensitive at all? And as he says down here, it is obvious that the dialogue was crammed in for show without any understanding of the region's culinary habits or dialogue styles at the time. And I will reiterate, that alone is not a problem. The problem is that Sweet Baby Inc., a culturally sensitive company, is the one behind it. A company hired on the predication that they will make the game culturally sensitive, and that's what they produce. That's the problem, not the actual dialogue. And the weirder thing is India has actual crowded marketplaces, so why not just have someone over there record the marketplace for a couple of hours, and then you take those snippets and you put them in there. That would make more, sure, it would still be inaccurate because of the fact that you're using modern dialogue in a game set in 1912, but it's far better than taking random phrases you find online that have nothing to do with the setting. So if anyone is surprised by any of this whatsoever, you have only yourself to blame, really. This is, of course, absolutely par for the course when you see someone working with Sweet Baby Inc. They're a company whose sole job is to grift and extort you for money and not actually do anything of value. They don't provide cultural readings. They don't provide any of the expertise they claim. All they do is they come in, they force you to change your lead actress, force you to make your main character look like Kim Belair, and then they fuck off once they've ruined the game to have absolutely zero accountability. Without the likes of Cabrutus, we would never have known Sweet Baby Inc. was behind this, so we could actually hold them accountable. But at the same time, we still have to hold the companies willing to work with Sweet Baby Inc. accountable as well. I'm not saying swear off every future game of theirs, because eventually they will have to learn and adapt to the proper actual audience, but currently they should still be blamed for being willing to hire such grifters like this and trust them without questioning their decisions. But it's like Grum says, it only takes 2 years of not buying woke shit for the game industry to fix itself. So here's to hoping we can get that done. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this, and I will see you guys on the next one.